93, 93, 93. This is the Mon Asha Renew from AshaRenew.com. Today I want to speak on the 30th degree, which represents the forces of Jupiter. Jupiter coming into fusion or union with the energy of Pluto, as 3 represents Jupiter and the 0 represents Pluto. So before I go there, like the reason we have 30 days in a month and sometimes 31 days in a month, that means we only have 1 or 2 degrees of the Jupiter currency, right? Because we have the single digits, then we have the tens, and we have the 20s. So when it's the tens are ruled by the sun, and the 20s are ruled by the moon. So of course, when we are telling time, we're dealing with the sun, and we're also dealing with the moon, right? So most people dealing with time, they're dealing with the sun, or they're dealing with the moon. However, when we get to the 30th degree, now it goes into the energy of Jupiter. And as we know, Jupiter represents the wheel of fortune in the tarot. Now we're dealing with the energy of destiny or fate. So while the tens, from the 10th to the 19th of the month, you're dealing with solar energy, and from the 20th to the 29th, you're dealing with lunar energy. So you can say you have days dedicated to 10 days dedicated to the solar, 10 days dedicated to the lunar. Then you can say you have essentially 10 days or 9 days with the single digits or the singular planets, right? So you have the singular planets, then you have the solar energy going into the singular planets, then you have the lunar energy going into the singular planets. And once you make it to the 30th degree, now you're dealing with destiny. Now you can say, influencing your destiny. So whenever we're working with the threes, the 333, right? 3 is a number of miracles. 3 is also the number of the ancestors, right? So you're dealing with miraculous ancestors. You're dealing with performing miracles, right? You're dealing with the element of luck and chance. These are all elements of Jupiter. And when you combine Jupiter with the energy of Pluto, which represents change and transformation, it represents a change of destiny. So 30 would then represents a change of destiny, because that will be the time you will put energy towards changing your destiny. So essentially, when you're working with the energy of the sun or the moon, that's changing your time. Because there's a difference between time and destiny. So we all have our personal time, just like we all have to go by the clock or the solar and the lunar currents. You have the solar currents, which is the outer currents. You have the lunar currents, which is your internal currents. But then you have what is called the cycles of your destiny cycles, which we call the wheel of fortune, which you spin, the spin of fortune, right? So what you do on the 30th day, as well as the 31st day in some month, this is how you change your destiny, a transformation of your destiny. So when you look back at the activities you did on the 30th days or the 30th day, those activities are activities that will change your destiny, the type of thoughts you have, the type of feelings you have, the type of desires you have to perform on that day. All of that affects your destiny versus your actual personal time or your outer time. So with the months that deal with the 3 and the 1, now that's the sun and that's Jupiter, which is a backwards 13. Because you got 13, but then you got 31. And we know 13 represents the energy of death. The 13th tarot card is death. And we know death represents a transformation. So when you reverse death, that represents rebirth. You have death, then you have a rebirth. So the 31 would then represents rebirth. So the 30th degree represents a change in fortune. Then the 31st degree represents, as we see, when you have laid the foundation, now you renew that consciousness. The consciousness is renewed. So once you essentially change your destiny or move towards changing your destiny, Then the 31st degree represents essentially you in the afterlife, or you can say, because again, we only have the 31 days like every other month, right? So out of 12 months, you can say what, only 6 of those months have 31 days. So essentially you have half of the year to renew yourself in your new destiny. And then you have the other months to change your destiny. So every 30th day, you have the ability to change your destiny. Then the 31st day, that's you essentially coming back from the dead. After that change, after that transformation, that's you being renewed after that change, after that transformation. So now you're actually able to live it out consciously. That's the 31st day. Now you become aware or conscious of that change, of that fortunate change. So you're not necessarily aware of that on the 30th day because you're going through it. You're going through the process of change because it's preparing you for the next month. So the 30th day, for the most part, is preparing you for the new month because we go from the 30 to the 1. So that's why the 30 represents that change or that transformation to adjust you into the new month. So for the months that have 31 days, now that's you living out the consciousness of that change for one day before you start the next cycle. So that's why essentially there's only 6 days. There's only basically 6 times per year, again, give or take, that you got the opportunity to, you can say, live out your changed destiny, which is on that 31st day. But let me actually be more precise here. All right. So let me go. So January has 31 days. Then March has 31 days. Then May has 31 days. That's 3. July has 31 days. That's 4. September, no. So July and August both have 31 days. So that's 5. Then October, that's 6. Then December, essentially that's 7. Okay. So I said 6, so 7, which is the number of divinity. So essentially you have 7 days. So out of 365 days in a year, only 7 of those days represent you being able to essentially foresee or foretell your future. Because again, Jupiter also represents, you can say, fortune telling and the art of prediction. So you're able to see into your future on those 31st days, those 7 days out of 365 days. Those days give you a glimpse into your future, because again, you're changing the future on every 30th day. So that 31st day, that gives you the insight into the changes that are occurring, so you can see into the future on that 31st day. And then your consciousness is renewed on the new month. So again, there's a reason why we have 7 chakras. So you can say every chakra is dedicated, or every chakra has a day, each one of the major chakras, because you have 7 opportunities every year to set that energy in motion. And depending on what energy you set in motion will determine what energy you receive back, right? So again, I don't want to make this too long, because I know this is more mathematical, this is more scientific, and I'm sure, most people are not even looking at it in these ways, but you basically have 7 days per year to be able to foretell your future and to put in motion or to plant those seeds on that 30th day. And on the 31st day, you're actually able to see what they can essentially produce. So that's only 7 days out of the year. So if you utilize those seven days magically, expect your fortune to change a lot more rapidly than it would if you were not aware of these things. So with that, I bear peace. 93, 93, 93.